The night had been quiet. Outside the small house, the colony lights were dim, and the artificial sky above showed faint stars. Inside, the human soldier slept in peace, his mind far away from battles and war. He had worked hard to build a new life here, far from the chaos he had once known. For the first time in months, he felt safe. But safety has a way of breaking when least expected. As dawn touched the edges of the sky, he stirred slowly, half dreaming, half awake. Then, in one sudden moment, everything changed. His eyes snapped open, and his breath caught in his throat. Something heavy was pressing down on his chest. His hands moved by instinct, trying to push away the weight. When his vision cleared, shock gripped him harder than any nightmare. The figure leaning over him was his new housekeeper. But she was no ordinary woman. Her skin carried a faint shimmer, as if touched by silver light. Her long hair floated slightly, even without wind, and her sharp alien eyes glowed faintly in the dim room. And most of all, she was on top of him, holding him down firmly, as though stopping him from rising. Fear surged through his veins. He thought for a second that he was under attack. His training shouted inside his head, react, defend, escape. But confusion slowed him. Why would his housekeeper, someone he had hired for simple tasks, be doing this? She had always been quiet, respectful, and distant. Now, she was acting like a predator. Her face close to his, her breath sharp, her hands gripping his shoulders with strange strength. "What are you doing?" he managed to shout, his voice tight with both anger and fear. The alien woman did not answer immediately. Her glowing eyes moved side to side, as if watching something unseen in the room. Her chest rose and fell quickly, and her body trembled as though she was fighting something more than him. Finally, she spoke, but the words came in a soft, broken voice. "Stay still," she whispered. The human froze. The tone of her voice was not filled with hatred or cruelty. It carried fear, urgency, and something else, desperation. She was not attacking. She was holding him down for another reason, one he could not yet understand. He wanted to demand an explanation, but then he felt it. An icy ripple across the air, a faint vibration on the floor, like something crawling close by. His heart beat harder as he realized the alien's glowing eyes were fixed not on him, but on the shadows moving at the edge of the room. Suddenly, the silence broke. A faint, clicking sound echoed from the corner. The human turned his head slightly, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Something small and insect-like, but not natural, crept from the shadows. Its body shimmered like black glass, its legs sharp like blades, and its many eyes glowed red. It moved with a mechanical precision, yet it carried a hunger that felt alive. The alien housekeeper pressed harder on his chest, forcing him to stay still. "It senses movement," she whispered again, her voice almost trembling. The human could not believe what was happening. Parasite? An assassin drone? Why was this thing in his home? And why was his housekeeper acting like she had expected it? His questions had no answers, but his instincts told him one thing clearly: this creature was deadly. The parasite crawled closer, its legs tapping softly against the floor. It lifted its head, tasting the air with long, thin sensors. The human held his breath, afraid even the sound of breathing would give him away. The alien woman's body shielded him, her strange glow forming a barrier between him and the predator. Time slowed. Each second felt like an eternity as the creature drew nearer. The soldier's mind raced back to the wars he had fought, to the strange weapons and enemies he had seen. But this moment felt different. He was unarmed, vulnerable, and utterly dependent on someone he did not yet trust. His housekeeper, this alien woman, was the only thing standing between him and death. The parasite paused, its red eyes scanning the room. For a moment it seemed uncertain. Then, without warning, the alien woman raised one hand slowly. Her fingers glowed with faint blue light, and a soft hum filled the air. The creature froze, its body trembling. She whispered words in her own tongue, low and urgent, and the parasite twitched violently before collapsing onto the floor, its body turning black and still. Silence returned. The human gasped for breath as the weight lifted from his chest. She pulled away, her glowing eyes dimming slightly. For the first time since waking, he could see the strain on her face, the exhaustion in her body. She looked at him, and for a moment, there was silence between them. Just two beings staring at each other after surviving something unexplainable. Finally, she spoke again, her voice heavy with meaning. "You were in danger," she said simply. The human sat up slowly, still catching his breath, his mind spinning. He wanted to ask her who she really was, how she knew about the parasite, why she had come into his life. But at that moment, one thing was clear: his world had just changed. His housekeeper was not who she seemed, and the danger around him was far greater than he had ever imagined. The human sat on the edge of his bed, his chest still rising and falling as he tried to steady his breath. The dead parasite lay in the corner, its black glassy shell cracked and its once glowing red eyes now dark. He stared at the alien housekeeper who had just saved his life, yet he could not ignore the image of her pinning him down with glowing eyes only moments ago. The silence between them was heavy, filled with questions that demanded answers. His soldier's instincts wanted to interrogate her, to demand why she had been watching him so closely, why she had climbed on top of him, and how she knew about the strange parasite. But at the same time, his heart whispered a quieter truth, that if she had not acted, he would not be alive to ask those questions at all. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but edged with tension. "What was that thing? And what do you know about it?" The alien woman lowered her gaze for a moment, her silver hair sliding across her face as she gathered her thoughts. When she finally looked back at him, her eyes were not as cold as before. Instead, they carried the weight of someone who had held back secrets for too long. She sat down across from him, her voice low, steady, and filled with a strange sadness. "That was not the first, and it will not be the last. My people call them shadow crawlers. They are machines, yes, but more than that. They are alive in a way you cannot easily understand. They hunt in silence, feeding on energy, feeding on life. Once they find a target, they do not stop." Her words struck him like a blade. He had fought many enemies in his time as a soldier, soldiers from rival colonies, alien mercenaries, even wild beasts on strange planets. But something about this enemy felt different. It was not loud or violent. It was quiet, patient, and deadly. And somehow it had found its way into his home. He clenched his fists, anger mixing with unease. "How do you know this? And why didn't you tell me before?" The housekeeper's face tightened, her alien features sharp in the dim light. "Because I was sent here for more than cleaning and serving. I was sent to protect you. That is my duty." Her words hit him harder than the sight of the parasite. Protect him? He stared at her in disbelief, trying to process what she meant. He had hired her only weeks ago, thinking she was just another worker trying to earn a living in the colony. She had seemed quiet, obedient, almost shy. But now she was revealing herself as something far more. "Protect me? From what? From them?" he asked, pointing toward the dead creature in the corner. "Yes," she answered firmly, her voice carrying the weight of certainty. "From them and from those who send them. You are not safe here, human. None of your kind are. The shadow crawlers do not wander on their own. They are guided. They are released. Someone, somewhere, wanted you dead while you slept." The soldier felt a chill run down his spine. He had left the battlefield behind to live a peaceful life. He thought he had escaped the danger of war and betrayal. But now it was reaching into his very home. He studied her closely, his suspicion rising even as gratitude kept him silent. "Why me? Why would anyone send these things after me? I am no one now. I am not a commander anymore. I live quietly, I fight no wars. Why me?" For the first time, the alien housekeeper hesitated. Her eyes darted away as if she feared to speak the truth. Her hands tightened around the cloth of her dress, and when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of fear. "Because you are more important than you know. You were chosen long before you were born. My people have watched your kind for generations. Among all of you, there are a few who carry something rare. A strength, a spark, a fate. You are one of them. Her words left him speechless. He wanted to laugh, to deny it, to say she was only telling stories to hide her own secrets. But deep inside, something in him stirred. Memories of battles where he survived against impossible odds, of times when his instincts guided him like a hand of fate, of soldiers who followed him with unshaken loyalty. These were things he could not explain, yet he had lived them. Could she be telling the truth? You expect me to believe that? He said at last, his voice heavy with doubt. I do not expect, she answered quietly. I only tell you what is. You can choose to believe or not, but the truth does not change. The shadow crawlers will keep coming, and those who guide them will not stop until you are gone. If you do not trust me, then at least trust what you saw with your own eyes tonight. If I wished to harm you, I would not have stopped that creature. I would have let it feed on you until nothing remained. Her words pierced his mind like fire. He had to admit she was right. No matter how strange her story sounded, she had saved his life. And the body of the dead parasite was proof enough that she was not lying about the danger. He leaned forward, his soldier's heart beating with a mix of suspicion and reluctant acceptance. If what you say is true, then you cannot hide things from me anymore. If you are here to protect me, then I need to know everything. No more secrets. The alien woman nodded slowly, her glowing eyes softening. Then you must prepare yourself. The night will not be the last time you wake to danger. There are shadows gathering beyond this colony. And before long, you will see the true reason I am here. The soldier sat back, his mind restless, his chest heavy. He could feel the shift in his world, the sharp cut of destiny creeping into his life once again. He thought he had left war behind, but now he realized the war had followed him home. The soldier did not sleep again that night. He sat in the dim room with the broken body of the parasite still lying in the corner like a silent warning. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see its sharp legs crawling toward him, its red eyes glowing in the dark, waiting for the moment he would be unguarded. But even stronger than the memory of the parasite was the thought of the alien woman sitting calmly nearby, her glowing eyes watching him with both care and caution. She had confessed more than he expected, yet he felt she was still holding back truths that he deserved to know. As the artificial sun of the colony rose, spreading pale light through the window, he finally stood and moved toward the body of the creature. His soldier's instinct demanded answers, demanded evidence. He crouched beside it, his hands brushing the strange metallic shell. It was unlike anything he had seen on the battlefield. It was not just a machine nor just a living being. It was a mixture, as though someone had combined flesh and metal, hunger and programming, instinct and design. Its edges were smooth like crafted technology, but its movements earlier had carried the hunger of an animal. He shook his head slowly. Whoever created this was more dangerous than anything he had fought before. The housekeeper rose silently and walked closer, her steps soft but her presence heavy. She studied him with calm eyes and finally spoke. You want to know who sends them? He looked up at her sharply, his jaw tight. Yes, I want to know. You said they are guided. You said someone controls them. Who are they? The alien woman hesitated, as though saying the name out loud might bring danger closer. Then, with a voice filled with a strange kind of fear, she answered. They are called the Vorash Dominion. My people have fought them for centuries. They are shadows who thrive in secret. They use machines like these to test the strength of their enemies. They are not interested in small battles. They target leaders, symbols, people who can change the fate of many. That is why they came for you. The soldier froze. The name meant nothing to him, yet the way she spoke it sent a chill down his spine. The Vorash Dominion. He had seen powerful enemies before, but the thought of a hidden empire sending assassins into the heart of a peaceful colony filled him with unease. He rose to his feet and stared out the window, watching the colony come alive with people walking, children running, traders opening shops. All of them believed they were safe behind walls and security drones. None of them knew that invisible death had already crept inside. His voice was hard when he finally spoke. If this dominion has been watching me, then how long have you known? How long have you been keeping this secret? Her silver hair shimmered as she lowered her head slightly. Since the day I arrived, I did not come here only to work. My mission was to stay close, to watch over you, and to stop what happened tonight before it could end your life. I could not tell you the truth at first, because trust is not easily given between our kinds. But now the enemy has shown its hand, and I cannot hide it any longer. He turned to face her, anger mixing with a strange respect. So you've been guarding me in silence all this time? Pretending to be a servant while watching for killers in the dark. Her eyes lifted to meet his, glowing faintly with sincerity. Yes, because you are not just a man trying to escape his past. You are a symbol. The Vorash know this even if you do not. If they can remove you quietly, they believe humanity will lose one of its strongest sparks. They fear you, and that is why they send shadows instead of armies. The weight of her words pressed hard on his chest. He had once been a soldier, yes, but he had never thought of himself as more than a survivor. He did not see himself as a symbol, but perhaps others did. Perhaps enemies saw something in him that even he could not. He clenched his fists, not from fear, but from the deep frustration of realizing that his dream of peace was already broken. Silence filled the room for a long moment. Then, as if the universe itself wanted to confirm her warning, a sudden noise echoed from outside the house. Both of them turned quickly. The sound was faint but sharp, metal scraping against stone. The soldier moved to the door, his senses alert, while the housekeeper's eyes glowed brighter. When they stepped outside, their hearts froze. Across the street, hidden in the shadows between two colony houses, a second parasite crawled along the wall. But this one was bigger, its body more armored, its many eyes glowing brighter red. It was not alone either. As their eyes adjusted to the dim alley, they could see two more moving slowly behind it. 3 parasites moving together, waiting for their chance to strike. The soldier's breath quickened as he realized the truth. The first parasite had not been a lone attacker. It had only been a scout, a test. The Vorash Dominion was not just watching him. They were hunting him, step by step, sending more with each strike. His jaw tightened as his soldier's instincts flared to life again. He turned to the housekeeper, his voice low but steady. "They're not going to stop, are they?" She shook her head slowly, her silver hair catching the rising light of the colony sun. "No, they will keep sending more, and each one will be stronger than the last, until either you are gone, or they are forced to reveal themselves." The soldier looked back at the creatures, his heart burning with a fire he thought had long been buried. He had wanted peace, but war had found him again. And if the Vorash Dominion believed he would be an easy target, they were wrong. For the first time since leaving the battlefield, he felt the call of destiny stirring inside him. The soldier stood at the doorway, his body tense, his eyes locked on the crawling shapes that moved slowly through the shadows of the colony street. 3 parasites, bigger and stronger than the one inside his room, crawled with unnatural precision, their legs digging into the walls as if nothing could stop their climb. Their glowing red eyes flickered with an eerie rhythm, scanning for signs of life, scanning for their target. For a long moment, the soldier felt the same fear that had gripped him during countless battles before, but this time it was different. He was not standing with a squad of fellow soldiers, not with weapons or armor. He was only a man in his home, armed with nothing but instinct. And beside him stood an alien woman who had revealed herself not as a servant, but as a protector sworn to shield him. The alien housekeeper stepped forward, her silver hair flowing in the morning air, her glowing eyes fixed on the advancing creatures. She lifted her hand slowly, and once again that faint blue light shimmered across her fingers. The soldier noticed how her body trembled slightly, as though every use of that strange power drained her strength. Yet there was no hesitation in her movements. Her voice was calm but sharp when she spoke. "If we face them separately, we will both die. If we stand together, we may survive." Her words struck him deeply. He had always fought with comrades, always trusted the men and women at his side in the battlefield. Now, for the first time since leaving the war, he felt that same bond forming again. but with someone who only days ago had been nothing more than a quiet stranger in his house. He nodded, his soldier's instincts rising with new strength. Then we fight together. The first parasite screeched, a metallic shriek that cut through the quiet street, and then it launched itself forward with terrifying speed. Its bladed legs slammed into the ground, leaving cracks in the colony stone. The soldier reacted instantly, rolling to the side, grabbing a broken pipe near the doorway. It was no weapon compared to a rifle, but his training turned anything into a tool for survival. He swung with full force, striking the creature's leg, the sound of metal against metal echoing through the air. The parasite staggered for a moment but quickly adjusted, its many red eyes glowing brighter. Before it could strike again, the alien woman stepped forward, her hand bursting with blue light. She spoke words in her own tongue, a sharp chant that made the air vibrate. The parasite convulsed, its body shaking as if trapped between two forces. With a final twitch, it collapsed, its legs folding beneath it. But even as it fell, the other two crawled faster, their bodies clicking, their jaws opening wide with razor-like mandibles. The soldier's heart pounded. He felt the old rhythm of combat taking over, the rhythm he thought he had abandoned. He moved with speed, dodging one parasite's strike while smashing his pipe against another's glowing eyes. Sparks flew, and the smell of burned metal filled the air. Yet these were not ordinary machines. They adapted, they learned. The second parasite leapt sideways, avoiding his next blow, while the third circled, trying to trap him between them. For a moment he thought this would be his end. But then he felt a sudden rush of energy. The alien housekeeper was beside him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever, her body moving with both grace and desperation. She placed one hand against his shoulder, and to his shock, he felt her energy flow into him. His arms grew lighter, his vision sharper, his speed quicker. He realized she was sharing her strength with him, binding them in a way he had never experienced before. With renewed power, the soldier attacked again. His pipe struck one parasite with such force that its head cracked open, spilling strange black fluid across the ground. At the same time, the housekeeper raised her glowing hands and released a wave of light that struck the third parasite directly. It screeched and fell, its body twitching violently before falling still. The battle lasted only minutes, but to them it felt like hours. The silence afterward was almost as loud as the fight itself. Both of them stood breathing heavily, their eyes scanning the street to make sure no more were coming. The soldier dropped the bent pipe, his hands trembling, his chest burning with both exhaustion and adrenaline. He looked at the alien woman, who now leaned against the doorway, her body weak, her glow fading. Yet her eyes met his with determination. "They will come again," she whispered. He nodded, his heart heavy but his spirit burning stronger. "Then we'll be ready." For the first time, he realized this was no longer his battle alone. She had revealed her true strength and chosen to share it with him. In that moment, they were no longer master and servant, no longer human and alien. They were partners, bound by survival and trust, standing together against an enemy that hunted in the dark. The soldier stepped closer, his voice firm but calm. "If they want war, then we'll give them a fight. But from this moment you tell me everything. No more secrets. If I'm to survive, I need to know who you are, what you can do, and what these creatures truly are." The alien woman's face softened, a small trace of something almost human appearing in her expression. She nodded slowly. "Then you must know the truth. I am not only a housekeeper. I am the daughter of a royal line, one of the few left who carries the old power of my people. The Vorash Dominion has hunted us for centuries. By protecting you, I defy them. And now, by standing with me, so do you." Her words filled him with both dread and strength. He had hoped for peace, but destiny had written a different path. He no longer stood alone in the shadows of the colony. He had an ally, unexpected yet powerful, and together they had survived what should have been their death. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would not stop until either they were destroyed, or humanity proved it could rise above the shadows. The battle in the street left behind silence that felt heavier than the fight itself. The broken bodies of the parasites lay scattered, their shattered shells glinting in the faint light of the colony's rising day. Neighbors peered out from windows and doorways, their faces pale with confusion and fear, but none dared to step closer. Most of them had never seen such creatures before, and those who had quickly shut their doors, unwilling to be part of what they did not understand. The soldier stood in the center of it all, his breath steadying, his chest aching with the weight of what had just happened. He had once been a warrior, a protector of humanity, but now he realized this was no random attack. This was a message. The Vorash Dominion had marked him, and they would not stop until their goal was complete. Beside him, the alien woman leaned against the wall of the house, her glowing eyes dim but her spirit unbroken. Her silver hair was damp with sweat, her hands trembling slightly from the power she had used. Yet when she looked at him, her gaze carried strength and truth. For the first time since she entered his home, she stood revealed not as a servant, not as someone hired to sweep floors or prepare meals, but as a warrior carrying a royal bloodline and a purpose older than the colony itself. She had risked everything to protect him, and in doing so had exposed the secret that bound them both together. The soldier stepped closer to her, his voice low but steady. "You said they fear me, that I am more than I know. Now I want the full truth. No more half answers, no more secrets. Why am I so important to them? Why would an empire as vast as the Vorash Dominion hunt one man?" Her eyes met his, and for a moment, she hesitated, as if the weight of the truth might crush even him. Then she spoke, her words calm, deliberate, and heavy with destiny. "Because you are the one my people call the chosen spark. Long ago, before your kind even built ships to cross the stars, my ancestors saw a vision of humanity's rise. They saw one figure standing at the center of it, a human who would carry the strength of many, who would unite not just his kind but others as well. The Vorash also know of this vision, and they fear it. They believe you are that spark. If they can extinguish you before you rise, then the future they fear will never come." The soldier felt the air grow colder around him as her words sank into his mind. He had lived his life believing he was only a soldier, a survivor of battles that had taken so many others. He had wanted nothing more than peace, to bury his weapons and build a quiet life. Yet now, he understood that his survival had not been chance. Every battle, every escape from death, every strange instinct that guided him, it was all leading to this truth. He was not meant for peace. He was meant for war greater than any he had known. He turned away for a moment, staring at the rising artificial sun above the colony dome. He thought of the faces of his old comrades, of the soldiers who had followed him into fire and darkness, many never returning. He thought of the families in the colony who believed they were safe behind walls, not knowing shadows were already crawling inside. And then he thought of the Vorash Dominion, an empire powerful enough to shape monsters that blended machine and flesh, cunning enough to send them into his bed while he slept. If they feared him, it was not because he was weak. It was because deep inside, they knew humanity had the power to rise higher than even they imagined. When he looked back at the alien woman, his eyes carried not fear but a fire that had been sleeping inside him for too long. "If what you say is true, then I cannot run from this. If they want to come for me, then let them. But they will not find an easy prey. They will find a soldier who has faced death 100 times and still stands. They will find humanity's spark burning brighter than their shadows." A faint smile touched her lips, the first real sign of warmth she had shown since entering his life. She bowed her head slightly, not as a servant but as an equal. "Then you accept your path. And if you accept, then I will not leave your side. My power is yours, my knowledge is yours. The Vorash will not stop, but neither will we." Together, they walked back into the house, leaving the broken parasites as a silent warning to anyone watching. The colony would whisper about what they had seen, rumors would spread, and the Vorash would surely send more shadows. But now the soldier was not alone. He had an ally who carried both the power of her people and the truth of destiny. More importantly, he had found a reason to rise again, not just for himself but for all who would follow the light of humanity. That night, as the colony lights dimmed and the artificial stars returned to the sky, he sat awake, staring into the dark with renewed resolve. The war he had left behind had found him again, but this time it was not just about survival. It was about destiny, about the future of his people, about a truth that would change everything. And as long as he drew breath, he would not allow the Vorash Dominion to snuff out the spark of humanity. The housekeeper stood silently near the doorway, watching over him, her glowing eyes steady. For the first time, she did not see him as someone to guard in silence, but as someone who would fight beside her, someone who would lead, someone who could change the course of history. And in that quiet moment, both of them understood the truth. Their paths had joined, and together, they would stand against the shadows. The future would not be written in fear. It would be written in fire.